Tonight on Devin Knows Best, we'll be discussing the judiciary branch. Identify and explain the organization of the judiciary. There are three levels of the judiciary. There are the district courts, the Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court. The district courts are the lowest of the courts where initial cases are tried, whether criminal or civil. These courts are jury courts. There are 94 judicial districts. In the Court of Appeals, there are 12 regional circuit courts. These appellate courts have no jurisdiction, and their purpose is to set precedents. They are essentially more powerful than the Supreme Court because they set precedents for more cases than Supreme Court cases. The Supreme Court is the last and final court. It sets precedents on cases that involve issues with the Constitution. They have limited original jurisdiction. Identify and provide examples of the powers of the judiciary powers. In the 1803 case of Marbury v. Madison, the Supreme Court assumed the power of judicial review. As a result, the Supreme Court attained its spot in the branches. The judiciary power has the power to refine laws and problems through court cases over certain conflicts. It establishes precedents and it defines laws. One monumental case that defines the judiciary powers is the case of Plessy v. Ferguson. This basically made slaves property by the outcome of the case. However, in the case of Brown v. Board of Education, separate facilities was considered unequal and desegregation began. These are two monumental cases that show the power of the judicial branch. Identify and explain how judiciary shares powers with Congress, executive, and bureaucracy. Well, judiciary shares powers with Congress in that it alters and refines the laws proposed by Congress. Some checks that Congress has over the judiciary are the handling of the purse strings. Congress can alter judiciary structure, and Congress may amend the Constitution if the courts find it unconstitutional, and Congress may impeach judges. In terms of the executive has the ability to appoint judges. Lastly, the courts can get involved with different federal agencies when it comes to constitutionality of actions or when they're trying a case and it involves the bureaucracy's influence. Discuss the implications of judiciary sharing powers with each of the following: Congress, executive, and bureaucracy. In sharing powers with the Congress, the constitutionality of certain laws can be compromised with Congress's ability to amend the Constitution, which may force judges to follow the Constitution in their hearing. So that's one way Congress has the power over the judiciary branch and control. The executive's appointment ability is also an important issue in that judges have to appeal to the president for the appointment. Especially the judges who were appointed, they usually appeal to the president. Being the dominant source for justice, the judiciary can supervise the bureaucracy by acknowledging and pointing out unconstitutional actions. Discuss the functions that judiciary performs. The judiciary branch is intended to solve constitutional issues and review laws. It is used to solve disputes and try injustices. It also serves to clarify constitutional questions through setting precedents. Generally, this branch's main purpose is to fill the gaps and loose ends for the current established government. Identify how the power of the judiciary has/may evolve gradually. Judicial power is directly proportional to judicial activism. As a result, if the judiciary is becoming more activist, then it is increasing in power. In this time and gradually toward the future, the judiciary is increasing its power by increasing in its activism. This is because times are drastically changing and the judiciary is accommodating for this change by becoming more activist. Identify and discuss the ties between the judiciary and political parties. Judicial liberal involves loose constitutional interpretations. They can be labeled more activist and they consider the Constitution more elastic. They also believe that precedent should be used in deciding legal cases. On the other hand, judicial conservative believes in strict constitutional interpretation and that the Constitution was a firmly defined document. Furthermore, they believe that precedent should not be used to decide a case. They are also known to have judicial restraint. Identify and discuss the ties between the judiciary and interest groups. In many circumstances, the interest groups are interested in court cases that have to do with their particular interests. In these cases, they file amicus curiae briefs or friend of the court briefs. This provides extra information intended to hopefully sway the judges to rule in their favor. Identify and discuss the ties between the judiciary and media. Supreme Court hearings are generally made to avoid media, being that you're not allowed to record or do anything during those hearings. They do not allow video recording in order to prevent the focus on appearances rather than the court session itself. Despite this, the media can be involved in trial ballooning or leaking information during the nomination process for judges. Identify and discuss the ties between the judiciary and state and local governments. The purpose of the judiciary, when linked with state and local governments, is to supervise and enforce law at the state and local level. In some cases, the cases at the state level are sent to higher levels for review or appeal, for example, the Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court and judiciary may also solve disputes that may occur between a few states or two states that have a dispute between each other. That's all for this time on Devin Knows Best.